Halloween was a very dark holiday. I always thought that Halloween was kind of dark. People would dress up as other people, basically. They would be somebody else that they not really are, and they basically go after other people and begging or really asking for candy. And I decided to do some research on Halloween itself and finding out the Day of the Dead, where basically people would attract the souls of the dead. The jack-o'-lantern house based off a lazy farmer called Jack and his interactions with the devil and the different myths and legends of it were just really interesting. How it linked to Christianity and different religious holidays was just absolutely really interesting, invigorating, and very dark. And I thought I would talk about a little bit, and I'll be sure to link all of the Halloween stuff I did. So happy Halloween week, I suppose. From October 25th to 31st, I'll be uploading horror, seinen, ichi, and mature related content for the entirety of the week, and it will be every day. And kicking off this day is my top 5 least favorite anime. All opinions are my own, nobody else's, so be sure to respect my opinions, and be sure to comment below your top 5 or your least favorite anime, or anime that you not recommend other people to watch, or series that you not be caught dead with. So let's start the video, shall we? And taking the number 5 spot is Akame Got Killed by White Fox Studios. It basically talks about Tatsumi, who came to the city to basically get money for his village, since the village was very poor, and basically he saw the death of his two friends who were trying to come to the big city, and just realized that he was basically getting tricked by this girl and basically a family of assassins. And this assassination group, who's part of the revolutionary army called Night Raid, tells him to join them, and basically talks about his journey through the world in a very dark and muddy and gritty type view. And the reason why I don't really like Akame Got Killed too much is because obviously the story and the characters themselves in the second half, which is actually an original, since White Fox did catch up to the manga, basically had to make an anime original instead of putting on hold and actually letting the manga finish. Decided to make their own anime original ending, and the fact that all the characters didn't get the proper development, basically their way of saying oh, we don't have to worry about character development, let's just kill off all the characters. That's what they wanted to do towards the end. But they should have allowed us to basically feel when the character died, just have this impact. And we didn't really get this certain feeling of sadness whenever our favorite character would die, because obviously he or she didn't really get development, and at times the animation really wasn't that good. And the only brilliant thing from episode 1 all the way to episode 24 of the end of the series was the soundtrack. That was the old known as the OST, and that was the only good thing for the show. The story and characters were not handled well in the second half, and at times in the first half, it was stupid. Just how, fucking, oh, let's just kill our characters, and we don't have to worry about developing them or actually, putting them through, this phase that everyone would love to see. Let's just displease our fans by doing this shit. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, everyone was disappointed by the second half, but I think I was just disappointed overall at the show. And just, I was a really big fan of the series, and I really did my first, saying, the first 2 episodes were just really awesome, but the show did get its dip in quality. But the animation at times were just really brilliant. I did love the fighting scenes at time. I'm just glad, the show had its highs. Really, the high aspects were just really freaking awesome. Like Suano, basically, or one of the characters who basically had this god type power was awesome, but the show did disappoint me because I set my expectations too high, and that was my fault. And number 4 is going to be a little interesting with this one. And taking on the 4th spot is Soul Eater Not by Studio Bone. Soul Eater was the anime that got me into watching anime, and was the first ever anime top 5 countdown that I did, and it saddens me to put it on this list because my expectation for this show was unrealistically high, sadly. And this is the show that actually taught me to not set my expectations too high. So it's kind of like, the first Soul Eater taught me about the world of anime, and the Soul Eater Not, which is the spin-off version, basically taught me, to set my expectations pretty low. So I'm very grateful for Soul Eater Not teaching me that. Soul Eater Not talks about the Not class of the Death Meister Academy, the Death Weapon Meister Academy, and follows Sugumi Harudi, who's basically a weapon and Meister. They're basically the people who wield them, and basically talks about her, journey trying to be a hero, and along with their other 2 other Meisters. And basically it's like a slice of life, but for Soul Eater, hence the name Soul Eater Not. It was just my expectation for the show that, that made me really not like the show. It was just so boring, and at one point I had to drop the show, and I was at episode 11, episode 12, I just didn't watch it until recently this year. I believe 5 to 6 months I dropped Soul Eater Not because I was like, what, this show is just so fucking boring, man. I'm just gonna go watch something else. The whole art style was pretty unique though. It's not Soul Eater, it doesn't have that edgy look that Soul Eater did, but the hence the name Soul Eater, not just to give us a little warning that this is not the Soul Eater that you are used to. And again, for all of these shows that I don't like watching, it's my fault for not dropping it. But the first few episodes were pretty entertaining, and just see the difference between the Soul Eater franchise was pretty interesting. But just the fact that my expectation was too high just for this one, which made me really not like the show at all. Sometimes the characters were pretty boring, but the last few episodes it was pretty entertaining to see the darkness, and the show didn't have the darkness I was expecting it to have. And taking my 3 spot is Werewolves, and talks about a young high school boy named Nahito Takayama who's basically very interested in trains and decided to work in the train industry and want to become a top conductor. So he went to train school, and this entirety of the show talks about trains, which is freaking awesome at first, because I thought this dude would become a top conductor. I thought he was going to go through the intense world of trains. He had to go through discrimination. I thought he had to go through all of this type culture stuff, obviously dealing with different cultures. But obviously it did turn out that this was a terrorist group called RJ who was trying to privatize all of Japan's railway, and I thought this show didn't have a story at first, but it kind of likes to hide it, because at first few episodes it's very episodic, so I thought hey, it's going to eventually build up the story, and I kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and it was just fan service and train trivia. It was just like the train trivia wasn't even that interesting. Sometimes they would try to implement the train trivia, but it was just like, oh my god, how boring is this show? Most of the reasons why I drop shows is because either it gets overhyped, or just people just say, oh, this show's greatest thing ever, because the first episode just displayed the animation so well, and the opening is still one of my favorite openings from that season that I did watch Werewolves, and I did do a first 3 as usual, because I love the first 3s of shows that I'm going to watch. I'll be sure to link all the first 3s and everything else that I talk about in the description below. But just the fact that my friend was one of the main reasons why I was watching the show, because my friend Cam was watching, or Chameleon Games was actually watching this show, and then when he dropped, I was like, what the hell do I do? Do I keep watching this show? I was like, what, I'll be independent and I actually watch the show and hope that'll be good. I dropped the show for a little bit, then I picked it up back right up again, and I did manage to chug along through the show. But I was so deep into the show, so invested into the show, that I just had to just keep on watching. I just at a point where I couldn't really return. It was just so freaking shit at one point. There was no character development almost. There was no, my expectation was too high for the show. I wish I learned my lesson from Soul Eater or not, but you know what? Things happen. Now Non's Buried Treasure takes the number 2 spot, and the reason why it takes the number 2 spot is just because the way it carried out the story, and just the ending itself just felt very unsatisfying as well. Non's Buried Treasure talks about the Great Seven, basically 7 people who wanted to build an island that was artificial, and just so it could go on, just people to achieve their dreams. 12 years later, basically 100,000 students are coming in to achieve their dreams. It's artificial, it's futuristic. The whole setting was just freaking awesome. And then one day, obviously, Jugo, who basically got disowned by his father, decided to stay in an apartment, and he found the late ghost of one of the Great Sevens, Nana. And basically, she said she was murdered 10 years ago, and basically she won't leave the room until basically her murderer was caught. And the fact that the show towards the end was obviously, the quota of the show was to find the murderer, and quota basically means the purpose of the show was to find the murderer and actually conclude and her go on to the afterlife. But the ending of the show didn't really do that. It was kind of an open-ended ending where do you think, do you eventually found her murderer, whatever. It just ended just like that. It kind of just showed, everyone capturing all the other people and getting all the treasures of the island, basically, just that. It didn't conclude properly. I didn't have any problem with the characters except the main character. At times he was really cool. You couldn't decide whether he was good or evil. He kind of switched on that. He couldn't really decide. He just kind of just decided on a whim to be bad and a whim to be good. The whole detective characters, was one of my favorite characters. Obviously, there's a character who's basically like the female L. And just the fact that the show's ending, the ending for me is very important. The ending is just as important as the introduction and as the character development, because ending at the end of the day is paramount. And it just did not conclude the way I wish it would. Things don't go the way you always wanted to, but this time it just kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, sadly. And finally, taking number 1 spot is If Her Flag Breaks. At one point, I forgot this show even existed, because I was looking through my list and I was like, what other shows do I not enjoy? And I found this show. I was like, you know what is this show? And then I looked, I was like, oh, it's this show. Basically, it talks about a young man or a young boy named Hate Soto who's basically in an accident where basically everyone around him died while he was going to a cruise, and he got this mysterious power to basically see flags, friendship flags, death flags, love flags, all these kind of emotions. And basically, he would not want to hang out with other people. He basically became a loner because he thought his powers would basically put others at risk, until he went to the Quest Dome, a dome filled with beautiful females, and it was basically a harem series slash romance series at times. And one of the things that I didn't like about this show, the fact that there's one female who didn't really like the male, because obviously all the other females are falling in love with him, and this one female was my hope that this show would not be a typical harem. And eventually as the show progressed, she really loved them, whatever. I was like, you know what, come on man, you're my only hope for this show having a very dark turn. At moments the characters past was very dark, there's some sort of antagonist slash protagonist relationship. It was sort of weird, how the worlds were colliding. I was like, what the hell is going on? Is this a harem, or am I watching a sci-fi thriller or whatever? What the fuck? I was like, the show did not know what it was at first. I was like, what the hell? And the music itself was okay. No memorable soundtracks, no memorable moments. Just the animation at times did take kind of a dip in quality at times. I just didn't really have an overall enjoying view experience. Remember, this list is my own. So make sure to let me know about your top 5, your top 10 least favorite anime that you would not recommend others to watch. And I'll see you guys later. Farewell.